Thank you for tuning in to the Awakening Season 3. Yes, God, Lord, I thank you, Lord, for everything you've done because it was a struggle for Season 2. It was so much. Season 1, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to even listen to the show, to taking the time out to even respond back with feedback, and just keep it coming. Please keep it coming. So, my first episode coming back from my little vacation, I chose to have what better person than Mr. Reggie Whitley himself, which
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna let him tell y'all his latest transition of his podcast. So I'm just gonna bring him in on mine here and there just to, put him on Front Street. Because that's what I do. I love him so much. That's just what I do. I'm petty like that.
See, amen. Thank you for calling that out of yourself.
I know.
And I just want
So
to say, I did not tell her that I was going to make this announcement on her podcast. Y'all see how she set me up to
I
make the
did.
announcement? See?
I did.
Oh, it be the ones that you think you can trust.
Yes, because everybody loves the open vault. I know I did. So, with that being
Amen.
said and done, we just gonna leave that there. We're gonna let you come back to that one because I kind of did throw that out there. I don't want to put you out there like that. I love you so much. But like I
Hmm.
say, thank you for tuning back into the Awakening. And once again, y'all know I always go dig deep in every topic that I do because I'm more of a home based type thing. What goes on in the community, what's going on right now. And so today, one of the subjects, which is bullet points, really, it is multiple subjects. We're just gonna go on down the line with everything that's been going on. It's so much. First off, I got to say something about the school system. The whole quarantine, I just want to say for everybody that has lost somebody in this whole COVID thing, everything that's going on from the hurricanes, my heart goes out to you. My prayers are with you, and I just pray that um, God just what He say, my people will humble themselves, woo, and we know the rest. Lord, heal the land, God. Heal the land from everything. So with that being said and done, we're gonna push through. We're gonna make this season a good season, a great season. If y'all don't make it, I am. So with that being said and done, like I said, we're gonna talk about the school stuff because I like to vent. So this session of the first awakening is the vent section. We just gonna vent about a few things. And first we're gonna vent about this quarantine at school. Um, so with that being said, let me just kick it off. Quarantine and schooling. Reggie, it has been a very difficult beginning of the school year for a lot of parents and teachers and school system administrations. I just feel like everybody being attacked, and I'm not trying to attack nobody personally or put it off somebody because it's new to everybody. Who would have ever thought 10 years from now or 10 years ago we will be experiencing what we experiencing now? But it's a serious matter because our kids are being affected by it and the parents are being affected by it. Like I said, everybody's being affected, and it's a lot going on. So with that being said, one of the things I have came in, I have been experienced, I'm gonna say that, as a parent, was the whole quarantine situation. You know, the vaccine is not for everybody. Everybody don't want the vaccine. That's your choice. That's what you want to do. I personally don't want my kids taking the vaccine. I took the vaccine, but it's something about my kids that's different. I was like, Lord, I just need to hear a little bit more information for these vaccines for my babies because they're young, and it's a lot of stuff going through my head regarding it. So I'm one. I feel like parents, we do stuff, but it's neither here nor there. So with that being said and done, I don't want to keep rambling over myself like I'm doing. But quarantine with school. So we all know that the vaccine cannot be taken for any child that's under 12 years old. So with that being said, a lot of things that is transpiring is we're having outbreaks. Um, a lot of outbreaks. And with that being said and done, it's protocol. They can't get it, and a lot of kids isn't vaccinated right now, can't get vaccinated. So with that being said and done, there's a lot of exposure that's going around, and kids are being affected by it. So one of the things that I have came in experience with is when your child has been exposed to COVID, not saying that they have COVID, but when they've been exposed to COVID, they actually get sent home for 10 to 14 days to quarantine. Like I say, not saying that they tested positive, but you have to, they want you to stay at home for 10 days. One thing I have experienced is that with my child being at home for 10 days, like my kids have literally tag teamed me. I had one to go in like the first 2 days of school, one to get exposed. She ended up at home. Then the other one, both of them go back. I mean, continuously go. And then the next thing, the other one's at home. One of my main concerns with this quarantine situation with the school system is the breakdown in communication between the parent and the teachers, the breakdown between the teachers and the students, and all that stuff, you know. So for me, it's like we got to do better, not only as parents, but as school boards, officials, everybody. Because I hold everybody accountable. It's just not the parent. It's just not the teachers. I'm coming for everybody because it got to be done different. All these kids, majority rules are already behind because they passed on uh Rona baby. They passed on Rona baby 2020. I don't care what nobody say, because some of these kids should have been held back. Some of these kids going in the school system this year and still don't even know how to do certain stuff that they should have learned the year before, but they actually passed. So I call them Rona baby passing grades. That's just me. I come up with it. Rona baby passing grades. That actually sounds kind of funny. But with that being said, it's neither here nor there. And then you had some people that didn't even pass. So that's a whole nother tragedy. So, but who do we hold responsible? Okay. So the breakdown communication is that we got computers, we got all these devices, and what time are we starting to, or what programs, or what concerns, or what strategies do we have to help keep these kids at least in float? And when I say in float, that means keep them going, keep them on pace of what is going on in a classroom. Because just because my child was out, that don't mean other kids was out. Is other kids kept going, so they was able to keep going with the curriculum and keep going with the subjects and keep going with the assignments. And here it is, my child is at a standstill as far as getting packet and instead of assignments on the computer. So I'm Reggie. At any time, shut me up, because help me understand what we gonna do. We lost.
So, hi everyone. I'm Reggie Whitley.
That mean he finna cut
Um,
up when he start off slow like that, y'all.
no, I was just introducing myself. Um, I don't know. There's a lot that has to be looked at. One of the things let me just start off by saying, um, like she said, this is kind of more like a vent session.
Yeah.
I'm not. She didn't bring on like a professional. Um, I wear blue jeans that's ripped up with t-shirts to board meetings, so I'm by no means professional. Um, so just my opinions on it. I think, and I've said this before. I've been on a few platforms talking about this since this started back early last year. Including I've been on this podcast with this being one of the what the main topic was. I on this podcast, or were you on mine?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Both. Yeah.
And I always have to say, one of the things that we have to do, I try to be more of like an advocate for the teachers. I was in the classroom, so I understand how it is to be a teacher. I wasn't in the classroom doing this, thank God. I've been in school. I wasn't. It's been a little while now. I've recently discovered. Once I counted them years, they got a little high. But I still remember, and Just being able to kind of feel where the teachers must be right now. I give them a whole lot of grace. So that's why a lot of people who ask me stuff, I take up a lot for the teachers. I don't have children. I never had children. I feel like everybody in my life is like a child. I got to take care of y'all. But
You just
I ain't
came for
birthing
me,
no
y'all.
children. I came for everybody that's watching that's connected to me. Um, so, because I had to be a parent to y'all at one point or another. So. But I never had like biological children, so I cannot really speak to that as strongly as I can to the position of the teacher. One of the things that I always say, and I'll forever say, we have to look at it through the teacher's perspective. And I always remind everybody, you included, Chantel, everybody who's listening, who I've talked to about this, if you've seen me on some other platform that's about education, as it pertains to the pandemic, I've always said this is not what no teacher who is in the classroom this year dreamt of being a teacher in a pandemic. We never thought that we would have to combine the words pandemic and education. We never thought we have to combine the words quarantine in school. We never thought we have to force kids to be homeschooled. We would always think that it would be an option. Um, this is nothing that was taught in any college program. It may be taught now more. I don't know because I'm not in college to be a teacher right now. So they may be hitting on it right now. I imagine that they are for those who want to be teachers. But if you have a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a friend, child who is in any type of school, their teacher was not formally educated in the education system, um, high school, college, grad school, to be a teacher in this kind of situation. As same goes for the principal. The principal should not go and get certified to be a quarantine, a pandemic, a COVID-19 principal. Administration, secretary, assistant principal, dean, you name it, counselor, janitor. Nobody said I was going to be in education. I was going to work for a school during a pandemic. Nobody taught it, so nobody has to train it. So I always tell people you have to be really mindful. You can't really go in emotional, and that's what I see a lot of parents doing. Because I mean, you're emotional, you love your child and all that stuff,
Right.
but you can't go in emotional because did you think about the emotions that your teacher is going through? Somebody, I always keep people anonymous. I was talking to somebody today, and they were talking about their child and the child's teacher and how they have an issue with the child's teacher and all that stuff. And they sent me screenshots and everything. And I stopped them and I was like, have you thought about what this teacher could be going through? The teacher could have had their own, because, parents have, like Chantel, you have 3 children in your house that's in school. Some parents have one. Some parents have five. Some parents have 10. I don't know. Some people have their
Oh Lord,
child and
I
they
didn't
have
experience that
their
one.
niece and nephew. Some people have adopted children. Some people have their cousin's child who can't take care of them. And you have a few or a lot. But no matter how many you have in your household, you still don't have as many. I ain't seen it yet, where you have as many in your household as a teacher does in their classroom. So you
Amen.
send your one child, because you 9 times out of 10 only have one child in a particular classroom. Children normally spread out. There's normally not siblings in the same room. There are sometimes, normally not. So you're sending your child, let's say you have three, you're sending your child to classroom A, you send another child to classroom B, you send another child to classroom C. You're lucky if they're all going to the same class, in the same school, I mean. You don't know what teacher A, teacher B, and teacher C is going through. Teacher A could have literally, because teachers have to, number one, not only care for your child like it's their child, they have to care for the classroom of children. Sometimes there's 15, sometimes there's 30 in a classroom, believe it or not. So they have to care for every child as if it's theirs. So that means not only do I have to care for 30 children, yours plus 29 more, yours plus 14 more, yours plus however many more, I also have to deal with the parents. Sometimes not
And
just the
that's a
parents,
whole
the
nother.
family. So if I got 15 students in my class, I'm not going to please everybody. Imagine if all, let's just say, imagine if 8 of the 15 had parents like those of you who like to run up to the school. Imagine if there was 8 of y'all in the class who are like those of you who like to call and text the teacher every time you have an issue. That means they have to stop what they're doing, take the time out to talk to and handle 8 different situations. Mind you, there's still more than 8 in the classroom. Let's not forget to take into account that teachers have their own personal lives. Let's not forget to look at the fact that teachers are underpaid, greatly underpaid. They were underpaid before the pandemic, now even more so because their responsibility has gone up, but their pay has not, many of them. Let's not forget to take into account that teachers are not supposed to have their phones during school hours. But you text them and you call them and you want to respond quickly, so you get mad when it takes them a while to respond. But then you say, well, they're not always at school. Okay, so now you want your teacher to work overtime to talk to you, to text you, to email you back after school is over. So they have to go into their personal life, still handle the school business because you, parent, want to have a conversation with them. You, parent, want them to handle your issues. You, parent, want them to deal with you and your child individually when they have about 14 at least more in their classroom. Um, let's not forget, going back to, they have a personal life. So you don't know what's going on in there. Their parent could be on the vent. They could have lost their spouse to not just the pandemic, to anything. Teachers
Yeah.
don't come and bring all their issues to the classroom. And most of you don't even ask, hey, how's it going? And when you do, you're being facetious and you really don't care. Most of you
Woo!
aren't really trying to figure out what's going on in my teacher's life. I was telling the same person, maybe you need to go to that teacher and say, how can I make your job easier? Well, I shouldn't have to make their job easier. Well, they should do their job. Well, if it takes a village, and most of you don't have a village, the only village you got is at home and at school, and you don't want nobody else to say nothing to your children. You barely want your teacher to say something to your child. Where's the
Hello.
village? We grew up saying it takes a village, but there's no village. So the teacher has to step in, the school system has to step in to help you raise your child because the children spend more of their waking day at school than they do at home. Most of them who have bedtimes. And so, please make it make sense why you should not care about the well-being of your teacher. Give your teacher, don't just, I say this all the time, don't just tell your teacher when they're doing a bad job. When I was in the classroom, I would tell the parents, hey, just want to let you know that your child got a 100 on the test today. Reward them. Just want to let you know your child didn't have to write their name on the board this week. Give them a reward. They're doing good. I don't just go and say your child was bad today because what is that like to keep just dumping the bad? So compliment your teacher, make your teacher feel good, make your teacher feel comfortable. Look at it from their perspective. It's really selfish. Um, a lot of y'all are really selfish. That's the problem. That's why a lot of y'all don't have, healthy relationships with nobody else because y'all are selfish. That's why you don't care about your teacher because you're selfish. That's why you don't care if your teacher's having a good day or a bad day because you're selfish. That's why you only care if your child has an F on the test and you want to know why they got an F because they never made up before, but you don't care about nothing else that's going on because you're selfish. I understand that your child is important to you. Your child should come first, but you should also take into consideration that your teacher is going through as well, and your teacher should have a little comfort. So don't go to your teacher when they're doing bad, go to them when they're doing good as well. See how you can work together, form a community with the teacher, form a community with the school system. If you can't do it by yourself, get with other parents. They're struggling too, they're frustrated too. Come together, bring solutions. Don't just go. I hate to go into a meeting and just tell what's going wrong. I like to go into a meeting and say, this is what's going wrong. Here's how we can fix it. Be that person.
Amen.
I'm not even a teacher. I'm not even upset because I know somebody's going to say, he's still not that because he's a teacher. No, I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm not even upset. I ain't even mad. I just read you
And
because that's what I do.
and I appreciate your feedback, and that's one of the reasons why I had you on, because
Amen.
really we need those type of responses. We
Because
need to
people
get it
don't know.
together.
People don't think. One of the things that I always tell God is, you did a whole lot of stuff. You did some good stuff. You created the heaven and the earth and the stars and the moon, and you created people. But one thing I don't understand, why you have to make bugs? Because I don't like bugs, but I know that was, Noah. He brought, read your Bible. But I'd be like, why did you have to make idiots? Like, I know we can't all be smart, but why you have to make idiots? Why did you make people who think? And so I'm not saying that a lot of you are idiots. I'm just saying that some of you just are selfish, and selfish to me is really idiotic, especially when it's something like this. And I really want people to
Clutch
start thinking
pearls.
more than clutching, more than just yourself, thinking more than just your household, and thinking that's why I'm here because I'm going to say what other people might not say. And I mean, you can come for me all you want to. I bet you ain't going through them hands. Yeah, I'm done.
Y'all see what I have to go through. That's why I brought him on, because that was some nuggets. Those was nuggets that we needed to hear. I'm a parent, so I needed to hear it too. But one thing about me, I can say I do appreciate my child's teacher, regardless of what we go through and what I don't agree with or what I disagree with or whatever. I got a family full of teachers, family full of them, and I am very appreciative. So if you are a parent and you're going through the quarantine blues like I have been through, thank you, Reggie Whitley, for straightening us on up. So my next bullet point, because I said we doing bullets. Let's talk about the whole. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there was a video on Facebook about a woman, because we're gonna talk about schools, we talking about kids, we talking about it all today. We gonna speak on bullying. At what point does bullying? At what? Mm, First off, let me just say this, y'all. Some of these kids today, parents, we need to get a hold to these children, because these kids are very, very, very disrespectful. And when I say it's okay to have an opinion, one of my things with my sister, a lot of I done had her on previous shows, and she is a spokesman for parenting. Like her whole parenting skills isn't from the parenting skills of the 70s, the 80s. They parenting skills for the 2000s. It's a lot of it I don't agree with, because I believe in a lot that the old school used to do. I'm just gonna leave that there, because I feel like that's where the disconnect with the kids come from. But parents, it was a lady that had a child that was getting bullied about kids, and so the lady actually went on the bus. Like when the bus pulled up, apparently the kids was had started speaking out, outside the bus towards the girl, because I guess she brought her mama to the bus stop or whatever the case may be, or however it may go. And basically, the mother went on the bus, and the mother was like, she has a mother. She has a mother like to defend her. She has a mother that's there for her. She has a mother that I and this is just me when I'm upset, or it's, when it's about your kids and your kids going through certain things as a parent, you just click off. You click off, especially when somebody mess with your baby. And so when she went on the bus, I personally think that I don't know if she reached out to the school board. I don't know if she reached out to the principal. I don't know what she did. But I know in that moment of her defending her child, for me, it was so much. She shouldn't have got on the bus, true enough, because, like I say, but I don't know. But in order to get on the bus, I feel like the bus driver didn't do their part to stop her. Because if they did, I feel like they would have been seen on the record. I don't know. I didn't hear the bus driver telling her to get off the bus. So for me, that was a question mark right there. But not only that, the kids. These are young kids. It looked like the kids was all different ages. It looked like elementary school bus. It probably was junior high too, or whatever maybe. I don't know. But I noticed that the children jumped up like to the woman like they was grown. And at some point in time, you know what I'm saying, you got to teach your kids how to be respectful of adults. And I feel like not only was the woman, like I said, I'm not upholding the woman, but I do know that as parents, sometimes when somebody mess with your child, you turns into that other person. And the kids stood up in the seat, Reggie. They was gangsters. They was gangsters. They was coming. Stood up in the seat where it was a girl standing up in the seat. The woman was going back, like she was going off the bus, and the girl was like, she was like she was there for it. She stood up. Like literally, they started fighting. And next thing you know, the mama grabbed the child or whatever. But as she was grabbing the child, they was jumping on her daughter. Parents, 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 parents. What are we doing this day and age? What are we teaching our kids? What are we telling our kids? I understand that, they said what is it, angry, provoking kids and stuff like that. But
Provoking not your child to wrath. That's Bible.
say it
I
again
think
for me,
that's a
Reggie.
provoking not your child to wrath.
That part. But with that being said, Reggie, what we gonna do about these children?
What are you going to do about yourself? You know, these children really are being who they're seeing, whether they're seeing it in the household, whether they're seeing it in the school system, whether they're seeing it on TV. What are you going to do about yourself? Children can't be more than what they see. So, yeah, we just had a few technical difficulties. So I'm just going to pick back up where I left off. Um, yeah, what our parents going to do with themselves? One of the things, like I just said, we have to realize our children, y'all children, they ain't got no, do what they see, whether they see it in the house, at school, on TV, listen to it in the music, you know. So what is it that they're being shown? You know, that parent, she was highly out of order. I don't care if they were picking on that child on the bus. There was another way to go about it. You know, I understand her intentions. I understand what she was trying to do and all that stuff. But again, she went about it the wrong way. And she went about it in a way that could get her locked up. And rightfully so. She went about it in a way
Get
that
locked
could
up.
get her child kid out. Oh, she did. So yeah, she need to. And this is not to shame her or anything, because I get it. I get why she would be upset. But just leave your child off of the bus. Drive your child to school and then have a meeting with the principal. If the principal ain't doing nothing, go to the school board. You know, we have to be educated in knowing that there's ways to handle situations. I've seen so many teachers go up to the school. You know, when I was in teaching, I was at a private school, and the little girl told me she's gonna call her grandpa for me, and he's gonna come up there and do something to me. And so, me being the adult, you know, I'm grown. You know, she in third grade. I can punt her in her head and knock her across the football field. But so words don't mean nothing to me, and I could have got mad, but I would just went to the secretary and was like, hey, because they ain't have a whole lot of structure or nothing. So I had to go to the secretary. It's like, hey, this child, I had a child in my class, threatened that she's gonna, and of course she's of a different skin color than me, and so I don't know what these people do at their house. So I didn't get scared, but I had sense enough to know, oh, this like it's an actual threat. So I was like, hey, secretary, child in my classroom just said she was gonna call her grandpa, and her grandpa was gonna come up here to me. And I was like, he can come. I'm just letting you know what she said. And she was like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna call the grandpa, and um, I'm gonna make sure that we get this resolved and all that stuff. So that's the way to do that. And that was resolved quickly. The granddad actually apologized to me and everything. But we have to understand that child. She didn't just come up with that on her own. So I understood that
Yeah.
standing in front of her. She didn't. This ain't something that just she thought of. This is stuff that they actually do. This is so you just have to know how to go about it. So she could have gone a different route instead of going to these children. Now, is that to say that some parents are not teaching their children respect and all that stuff? Some parents aren't. But at the same time, when you were in school, did you do everything that your parents taught you? So we can't put the blame on parents, because you can teach your child how to do this, how to do that, to be mannerable, and they can be very respectful at home. They can be very mannerable when you go out in public with them. But when they go to school, some of them become different children. So I never want to put the
Yeah.
blame on the parents, except for that parent who foolishly got on that school bus like an idiot.
I ain't gonna call her an idiot though.
I didn't say she was an idiot. I said she got on the school bus like an idiot. She implemented
Yeah.
idiot like
That. Yeah.
behavior in that moment. And it
Yes.
was because
Yeah.
I'm sure that was one of those things that was just I guess we can call it a crime of passion. Because she's a mother and she was upset and all that stuff, but just what she did was not smart. And so that's why we have to know beforehand. You have to know, this is what I can do. I can go to the principal. I can go to the bus driver. I can go to, which I'm not even gonna get into where was the bus driver in this, but I can go to the school board. So we need to learn how not to be so quick to pop off. This is school. This is education. It's an educational system. It's not the streets. You don't come up here. I was teaching a summer program. I don't know if I ever told the story on here. I was doing a summer program. I did a summer program for a few years. This is like my favorite story to tell about the summer program, except for when there was a fight. But we'll get to that another time. So I was down on the other end of the building, minding my own business because that's what I do. I mind my business. And I was preparing the breakfast, which I shouldn't have had to do, but that's another story for another time too. And so I told all of my teachers, which were high school interns, high school and college interns, to make sure that you get the children in, signed in, and then bring them down here at a certain time to have breakfast. This is what we did every morning. So one of the little boys went home. He's a first grader, was first grader at that time. He went home and he told his mom that one of the children was picking on him. I think this is a very relevant story. Um, he said one of the children is picking on me. And so the mom, now this mom, we had never seen. I've been doing this program for several years. I think this was maybe year 2 or 3. This child, this first grader, was a returning student from the beginning until then. Every year. And every year, the grandmother did everything. The grandmother registered him. The grandmother dropped him off. The grandmother picked him up. The grandmother made sure everything was done. This particular day, I'm down here cooking, and 2 or 3 of the teachers come running down, freaking out, saying, Reggie, there's an issue. We have an issue. And I'm like very chill, just in my everyday life. And so I was like, what's the issue? And they were like, the boy's mom is down here. And I was like, no, you mean his grandma. And they were like, no, his mom is down here. So I was like, why is this boy mom down here? Never seen this woman today in my life. I get down there and she's going off. She's fighting. Man, she's standing up there wrapped up in a she's a good 28, 30. She wrapped up in a Winnie the Pooh blanket that she looked like she got from the hospital when she was first born. She had on her fur house shoes that was, looked like she had been walking through the mud. She had on her bonnet. Monique would have had a fit. She had on her pajamas. We couldn't hardly see them because she was wrapped up in the blanket that was raggedy and dusty and dingy. And she was just going off, looked like she ain't brushed her teeth that morning. I'm like, ma'am, hi. First of all, hi. Mr. Reggie, what's the problem? It's just like my baby said this. So happened that she's going off, threatening to whoop this other child who is in the 6th grade. Threatening to whoop this other child because apparently the 6th grader is speaking on the first grade according to the first grader. 6th grader's mother comes in, very professional. And she says, what's the problem? Because they're returning as well. They've been with me since year 1. Never had a problem with either one of these. I had a few problems with the 6th grader, but the mother always worked with me to straighten out the 6th grader. And so she was like, well, what's the problem? I was like, ironically, you. Apparently. She's talking about you. And I said, but we're solving this. You can leave. I'll handle it. She was like, no, I don't want to leave. If she's saying my child is doing something, let's talk about this like women, is what she told that woman. And the woman was just like, I want to talk about it like no woman. So come to find out, hers, that's what she said. Come to find out, the first woman whose child was okay. Come to find out, the first woman whose child was apparently being picked on, we had to calm her down, talk to the other parent, and come to find out that that woman's first grade son was lying on the 6th grade son. So now she has come and making a fool out of herself for no reason at all because her child lied. And so, one of the things, the lessons that I learned from that is before you pop off, get an understanding. The Bible says and all that, and get understanding. Before you go up here mad, before you jump out of your bed deciding you're going to be mom of the year, dad of the year, grandparent of the year, get a good understanding. Um, Sit down, talk to people in charge, and work together to figure out how you can resolve an issue. That's what that mother should have done, in my opinion. Um, there's no way she should have gotten on that bus and done that. And I know a lot of parents have that issue. A lot of parents feel like that's what they have to do. Go, let me run up to the school, and you go up there fat hot like a firecracker. Calm yourself down, douse a little water in your face, and go up there like you got some sense.
Okay, thank you for tuning back in to the awakening. I'm saying back in because this is clearly part 2 because we had technical difficulties. Pray for us this season because I rebuke that spirit in Jesus' name. We will
Ooh,
not be going through this again. I got too much Hello. Did you feel it, Reggie?
Yep.
So, with that being said and done, we was discussing about the lady that got on the school bus, the parent that got on the school bus, and Reggie, I thank you so much for your feedback. But at the end of the day, I really think that a lot of these parents and these kids is it's so much going on, and it's like the parents is so emotional. Um, this part because the kids really have been not around other kids. And so it's basically, it's just a lot going on with everybody this school year. And I'm just praying for the best for everybody, for the kids, the parents, the teachers. I just hope all goes well. But in other news, I got one more nugget, one more bullet to point out today. So I've been noticing that basically we have an issue between vaccination and segregation. Makes sense? Follow
Vaccination.
up with that? And segregation. And I say it like that only because it's like now I feel like we going back in the 1900s, with these vaccinations. And okay, if you vaccinated this, if you're not vaccinated that, and this, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I feel a segregation come along. And it's sad to say, but I just feel like that's where we are right now in this vaccination. I do believe that it is a choice. For me, it's like I'm not going to go back and forth with nobody over no vaccination. As long as I feel like if a person get theirs, like I got mine, that's my choice. If I want to get vaccinated, okay, that's me. That's what I prefer. That's how I want to operate. It's my choice. If a friend didn't get theirs, that's their choice. It's my choice to be around them. It's my choice to stay away from them. It's a choice. But when you got the jobs, you got the school kids, you got everything being to the point of if you don't get vaccinated, if you don't do this, you lose your job, you lose so much. And it's kind of like uh, segregation. It's beginning to be just like that. You have it's like race car all over again.
Oh, you ready for me? Um,
I'm sick of them, y'all.
I mean, you the
Cause
same.
you
You
got to
know,
edit that.
ain't got.
That's too much space.
I, oh, this gonna be in there. Um, you- this is what you have to put up with when you become a member of the Reggie Whitley.
I swear.
So I do agree. There is segregation. So one of the things, so y'all know I'm saved, right? And sometimes there's some things that happen with me that I be like, oh wait, you saved for real? Y'all, it was the other night, and it was like 1:30 a.m. and I was laying in my bed, and I randomly started to quote the Pledge of Allegiance, something I haven't said probably since I was in high school, and I've been out of high school for a while. And I just started to say it out of nowhere, and I was laying in my bed. This is where the safe part comes in, literally renouncing. I was like, oh, that's not. No, I renounce all those agreements, years and years of saying it. I renounce it. I come against it. And so, one of the things that I noticed about the pledge, and I can go on about it for a while because I laid in my bed for another about an hour and a half, picking apart the Pledge of Allegiance and saying, this is not right. Now I know I'm gonna make a lot of patriots mad with that statement, but you want to know who doesn't care?
Oh God.
Um, because it's not. It's full of lies, and the part that I'm gonna talk about now, based on what she just said, is the end part. I have to say I'm not that smart, okay? So I have to say the whole thing to get to where I'm trying to get to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. When has that been true in America? And so, when I
Right.
started
back to the history of America. A lot of people, I'm one that will tell you in a heartbeat, and I don't care who doesn't like it, America has never been a godly country. America has been really a very hypocritical, and that's why I think that God is so unpleased with it, like it or not, because America is one of, if not the only country that claims to be a godly country, a holy country, one nation under God. We print on our money in God we trust. And look at most of what's going on in America is because of greed. Isn't that ironic? We print on God we trust on money, and we're such a greedy, greedy country. So, as it pertains to this vaccination, we're saying it again. We're saying in that we're indivisible. We make our children say it when they're in school, literally from the time you're in, I think it's kindergarten, maybe pre-K, maybe even Head Start,
Yeah.
all the way up until 12th grade graduation. You have to stand at the graduation, put your hand over your heart, and recite that, and you're reciting lies because we are very divisible. We never have been indivisible. And unfortunately, now we see there's so much division. People are getting backlash. There's people in Florida who were told that if you, I live in Tennessee, I don't have to go to Florida because, people don't even like Florida. People find reasons to bash Florida. So I'm not even going to pick at them. Right up here in Tennessee, the Tennessee governor or somebody, I'm new here, I don't know these people, but I remember somebody in high up government said if you are a public school and you force the mask mandate on your students, I'm going to cut your funding. How dumb is that? So on one hand,
Right.
people who are saying you can't wear masks, you can't make people wear masks. On another hand, you're having people who are forcing the vaccination. I think with all things there should be a choice, because even God is a free will God. And I know some of you might not like it, but at the end of the day, God literally would not even force himself upon us. So why are we forcing anything upon God?
Forcing it.
If you
Exactly.
if you don't like it, don't. If you trust it, trust it. If you don't, don't. And there's so much bashing going on. You have the people who trust it bashing the people who don't. You have the people who don't bashing the people who do. I think all y'all are dumb, really, who sit up and argue about it. And this whole thing, I clarified something that Chantel said earlier. She was like, "Well, I don't think that she's dumb." And I said, "Well, I didn't say that she was dumb. I said she acted dumb." No, now I'm saying y'all are dumb. If you sit up
Okay.
and this, I think you're dumb. If you question me about it, I think you're dumb. If you question somebody else about it with the intent of trying to pick apart their opinions and all that stuff, because why? I really want people to open their eyes and see this is more than just a vaccination. This is more than about safety. This is more. You have the same people who were praised as heroes. You have the same people who were, I mean, literally the nation's heroes last year, our nurses. They were praised, they were hoorah, there were parades for them, there were celebrations for them. Now they're being forced to take a vaccination that does, studies show that it does mess with your RNA, it tampers with your RNA. And so these nurses, a lot of them are saying we don't want it and we're not going to get it. So the nurses that you praised last year, you're literally bashing this year. You're literally firing them. They held the nation up last year. This year
They
they're
did.
instantly. I'm just not understanding, and I
They
really,
really did.
really noticed that this is something deeper than a healthcare issue. There is so much division. You have people who are saying, if you're not vaccinated, I don't care if you do have a negative test. If you're not vaccinated, you can't come to my Thanksgiving dinner and your family. If my child doesn't get vaccinated, I don't care if they do stay alone and stay. I mean, I've heard people say this: if they stay in their house, if they don't go out, and if they take, they can quarantine beforehand, they can take a test before they get there, but they're not coming in my house. That is demonic, if you ask me. If mine tell me that, I'll be like, cool. I ain't gonna argue with you because I'm not arguing with nobody who has that idiotic mindset. I would rather be an island, and God don't want us to be an island. And by that I mean alone with nobody, just by myself. Before I cause anybody to force me to do anything, and I mean that's literally anything. Because why are you having
Yeah.
And then a lot of you don't really do your research. I want some of you to do your research because I've had a lot of conversations with people. And I don't mind giving reasons to and reasons not to do anything because I can really look at stuff from more than one perspective. And most of the people who argue, like if somebody said, well, I don't see why nobody would not get it, and I give them reasons why they would not get it, and I was like, so can you give me some reasons why you would, or can you give me the most that a lot of y'all, because y'all are ignorant, so the most a lot of y'all can say is because of what somebody said.
I ain't ignorant.
Did I call your name? But one thing, we are holler. So, so people don't have a whole lot of. I really want people because I can get on anybody's side if you have facts. I can agree with you if you have facts, and a lot of the people who I've talked to on both sides of this, a lot of them don't have facts. They have what they've heard somebody else say. They have, what somebody came and some of y'all. Every time you look around, you have another revelation about it based on somebody else's conversation. So I need y'all to really start doing some research, open your minds up, and stop being dumb and see that this is bigger than just a healthcare thing. This is literally
And I
segregation.
think,
Go
and
ahead.
yeah, and I think that majority of it comes from not only, when we say segregation, we are saying, and a lot of people, if you don't know what segregation means, please look it up. Um, I think a lot of people fail to realize that it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. It's a choice that what you want to do. It's a choice like the clothes you put on. It's a choice. And with that being said, if you choose to get it, I'm to the point where if you choose to get it, oh well. If you don't, oh well. It's that's you. I will not love you no less. I will not. There will be nothing. I will not look at you different. Some and like you say, some people don't know the facts. Some people don't care about facts. Some people don't look at facts. Some people look at fear. Some people live out of fear. Some people live out of faith. Some people. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own belief. But segregating people because of their belief is a whole nother ball game with me that I really just don't like. And I feel like it's just another way for us to be at odds with each other. I was watching the news this morning, and they was talking about it's over. I think it was Delta Airlines, one of the airlines has over 4,000 cases, with almost 3,900 other cases was about masks. I mean, a rule is a rule. If these folks ask you to put on a mask, put the mask on. That's different. The mask ain't gonna.
Yeah,
I feel
just
like a
say
mask ain't gonna hurt you just as well of a shot.
yeah, because a lot of people will say, well, what's the difference? Because you have anti-maskers, and they feel like, well, is this are we in that category? Are they gonna, I feel like they're picking on us and all that stuff. I mean, a mask is one thing. To make a rule about a mask, you just putting a mask on. I feel like that's something. Even
That's
I've seen videos
covering
of
your face. Right,
literally
right.
or in the grocery store coughing on people like that. And I thank God they don't put me in them kind of situation because you'll see me on the news since I've been a hit.
And coughing on the
Uh,
vegetables.
and I'm like, what's the purpose? But a mask is one thing, but a shot, because when you look at it, according to it's two different acts that's out there. One that was just created either last year or this year. One was created, I think, in the 80s. I think it was like 1986 or something. That say if you get a vaccination, you are literally not able to sue. So in the 80s, they made it to where you're not able to sue if you get a vaccination and you get sick or die or have some kind of any kind of like birth defect. You can't give birth children. All your children come out with
Complications.
stuff. So you're not able to sue. One that was done either last year or this year was very specific, and it said that you are not able to sue Moderna or Pfizer if you are to get sick or if a family member dies or anything like that. You're not able to sue. So that puts so much on because to me that's really criminal. To me that should be illegal. And to me, that's very suspicious. The fact that you intentionally, not just in the 80s, but within the past year, you literally said you are not able to sue the people who inject you with these chemicals. And, again, if you get it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But, I mean, can we open our eyes a little bit and say, hmm, those who don't want to get it, some of them, not all of them, because some of them are foolish also. Some of them who don't want to get it are foolish. But can we say maybe some of them have good reasons? Maybe some of them have said, well, why is it that you have created this act, created this law that puts a block so if anything happens to me, I can't do nothing about it? People get suspicious of that kind of stuff, and we cannot ignore the fact that this isn't the first time that this has happened. The U.S. government is full of greed. The U.S. government is very shady. And if you do a little research, you'll see so many times when the government has promised to give things and it has been very crooked, has promised to give like free health care, and it's been syphilis, literally in the South just not long ago during some of your lifetimes. I'm young, so when do I? But the government, and that's not the only
Did
thing
you
that
just say my lifetime? Like I'm
you.
just that old?
I didn't. If you don't say nothing, people won't even. You'd be giving your. But there's a
But I
long.
think you shooting.
I'm shooting them. I'm not shooting you. I'm talking to them. It ain't nothing to do with you, Chantel. They need to get offended. But there's literally a list of stuff that the government has done. So you have people who don't trust, and rightfully so. So I mean, look at
Yeah.
the was literally founded on stolen land and all that stuff. We can go far back to 1776, all the way up until now. There's always been crooked stuff, and there are people who do study history, and there are people who do study medicine, and then you have a lot of people who say, "Well, you don't believe, you don't." Question things when it comes to like your blood pressure medicine. It comes to, I think that this is all dumb. Um, I'm done. I just think that this is dumb. I really think y'all are really stupid. I don't even know why I told her I wanted to talk about this because I'm highly annoyed. Because I really think that this is just dumb.
Okay.
Y'all are making people, and I mean on both sides. I'm not even just supporting one side. I'm talking about both sides. Y'all are dumb. You know that? Oh, talk, Chantel. Because I really wish that this was a
Oh my
live show.
God.
We were in the
Please.
studio. I,
We talking about segregation.
you're right. I got off track. I apologize.
Segregation.
I apologize.
You did.
But this is segregation. This is.
Snatching back Holy Ghost.
This is segregation. I mean, that
Snatch 'em back. But it
go.
is, it is, and it's a lot going on. And like you said, it's a lot of research that needs to be done. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's a choice. It's a choice to cut people off and to do certain things that we got going on as a nation, as a country. Right now, it's just beyond have me just like, is this where we at? This where we really at? This where we finna go? Are we
And
making a U-turn? Are we acting like are we looking back? Are we gonna turn to a pillow of salt? Cause we looking back. Come
I
on
want
now. I
to,
need y'all to.
with that's being treated like this. Let's not forget that there are a group of people who are not able to get vaccinated, even if they wanted to. They're not able to.
Exactly.
Health conditions.
Exactly.
They are age. I know that they're working on a vaccine for children. I think it's like 5 to 11 or something. But I mean, come on, you have to remember the fact that some of the people that's not vaccinated, they actually want to get vaccinated. So you're telling them no because but they're suffering because they're not able to because of other conditions. And it's not just segregation against those who are not vaccinated. There are some, and I think that these people are dumb too. There are some places, like I know in New York, I remember seeing that there was this guy who owns, I think, a restaurant, and he has like a
Was it
sign
a
up.
piece?
I think it was like a pizza parlor. He was
Yeah.
in that, and so I remember
If
that.
you got vaccinated.
Yeah, he was like, you have to prove that you haven't, which I don't know how a person would do that, but you have to prove that you have not gotten vaccinated. And there are certain places that if you don't, no, if you do wear a mask, you're not allowed to come in. Y'all are done too. Because that's still segregation. You're still separating people who have gotten vaccinated. You're still separating people who
Separate.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is very, very easy. And I don't even know, I think you have to have a lot of boldness to be one of those people who speaks out and does this kind of stuff. A lot of boldness or ignorance. I can't even. I remember I went into, and I know a lot of y'all feel to bash me, especially those who know me. But I went to Big Lots the other day. I just recently learned that Big Lots is a magnificent store. So I recently went to Big Lots, not the other day. It was like about a
I don't
month
know
ago.
how you just learning it.
We didn't have one in my town when I was going. Well, we had it, but it went out of business. Um, and I just moved here. So um, I went in there without a mask on because there's literally like nobody ever in Big Lots. I don't know how they stay open. I don't think other people know how good it is, but I went in there without a mask on, and I didn't think nothing of it. Actually just forgot my mask at the car, and I didn't think about it till I got to the door, and I was like, "Oh no, I left my." I think I was on the phone with you, Chantel. I was like, "Oh no, I left my mask in the car," and I went to turn around, and I looked to see how far the car was. I
Yeah.
was like, "Holy Ghost is just gonna keep me, because I ain't gonna go back and get that mask. It's too far, and it's raining outside." And so I went in without a mask on and everything. Everything was fine, and I left out because I was like, I don't think Tennessee has had a mask mandate at that time. I didn't think they did, and I ended up going back there like a week later, and I noticed the sign that was on the door, and I saw that sign a week before when I was there, but I didn't pay attention to it, but I read it that time, and it was like, you're not able to come in without a mask. I felt so bad. Like, if the cashier, I was looking for the cashier who
And
was
people
there.
don't care about that.
They don't, and I'm trying to figure out, how don't people care about, like, I want to follow the rules, unless the rules go against what I think, God wants. But because, people, a lot of people do use that phrase, obey the laws of the land, but we see a lot of times in the Bible where people did not obey the laws of the land because they went against what God wrote. So read your Bibles, Christians. So yeah, I felt so bad. I was
Yes.
looking like, where is the guy so I could apologize to him, tell him I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know that I had to wear a mask in here. I don't see how some of y'all go to like airports, since I've been to several airports this year, and I would not dare. Like, how do y'all not wear a mask? And it's the rule. I don't know.
Because they don't care.
Y'all,
Because they don't care. And that's where I am with the whole segregation thing. Now, when I say it, it's not because of they don't care. And so at some point, I feel like we fighting an endless battle because people gonna do what they want to do. People gonna
amen.
respect what they want to respect, and it's just like these kids nowadays. I feel like they have choices of who to respect and who to not respect. Half of them don't respect their parents, but they respect the teachers, and it just goes back and forth. But that's neither here nor there. But it's the time that we living in, and it's like it's praying time. It's really if you ain't never prayed before or tried the mind, I advise you to try them because we being tested and tested well, and it's out. What side are you? Hit the song. Whose side you leaning on?
Because
You, what the
I have
tambourine at? Look,
stuff
you
that,
ready?
because I be singing, but I don't know if I can sing
You
on
got
a podcast, so I don't know the laws with that. Doom, 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 doom. I do the beat.
no.
Doom,
We
doom,
ain't gonna mess with it then.
doom, doom,
Get,
doom, doom,
if I
doom.
had a tambourine, I would go with you, but we're not
Make
gonna go there because I don't know if you can sing it neither. So I don't need no lawsuit coming up around here. We're gonna leave that alone.
you take all of that.
But y'all take all the coins. The coins well, the coins we didn't even know we had. But with that being said, Rich, I want to thank you for coming on once again on the show. It is the first first show of this season, and we're gonna have so much more coming in. Y'all know I like to speak about self. Huh?
Didn't you say you was gonna make me give my announcement about my podcast and all that stuff?
Oh, I'm coming. Don't rush me, boo.
Okay,
I got you. Don't. I. th-
go ahead. I
This
apologize.
says the awakening, not open vault.
It
But I
is
wanted to thank you. See, that's how we talk. That's how we, that's like a sister and brother. That's what we do. But I wanted to thank you for coming on because clearly, since he wanna steal my thunder of me thanking him for coming on, and as to his new development idea of his. Reggie, can you also advise us what's going on in your next move with Open Vault, please, sir?
my next move with open vault. What are you? Oh, you're talking about. Oh, okay. This is so
The
unexpected.
pettiness.
I know I was gonna have to do this today. Um, so so with open vault, so y'all know if you didn't know, because some of you are just listeners to the Awakening with Shontal Bettis-Brown. My name is Reggie Whitley. Nice to meet you. And I have a podcast network called the Reggie Whitley Podcast Network. You're watching it here. And I also have a podcast called Open Vault Podcast. There it is up there, Open Vault Podcast. And last year I started. So did you know, Chantel, that we're like around a year old? The Reggie Whitley Podcast Network. I just saw it. I was looking for some paperwork.
Yes, yes, yes.
It was like a year to the day that day,
We
and that
should have
just
had a party.
we should have. We really should have. Speaking of a party, I'm gonna tell y'all that joke I did on Chantel. That's not this one. So, but yeah. So when I started the podcast, y'all know this is not my first time doing a podcast. It wasn't. I did a podcast years ago, and I did not know what I was doing, which is the story of my life. I never know what I'm doing. I just like jump out there, try it, and learn as I go. And so,
He walks on faith.
you literally, because he don't be knowing what he be doing at all. And so I started the podcast, and then all of a sudden I was like, I think I hear a podcast network. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Is that even a thing? And I was like, let's do it. And it just so happened that Chantel came to me. This ain't got nothing to do with the announcement, but Chantel came to me like a week later and was like, I think I want to start a podcast. And I was like, okay, come to my network. So I really don't think that I was supposed to do a podcast. I think I was supposed to do a podcast network. So that is why I've decided I was like, you know what, this is just getting to be too much. Y'all don't know how much goes into hosting your own podcast, especially when you have to get the guests and all that stuff. And so for me, I actually have to do like the creation part, the booking part, booking the guests, scheduling them, recording, editing, uploading, advertising, and all that good old stuff. And I was like, I'm just so tired of doing this for my own podcast because this is so much and trying to get people to come on and all of that. And plus, I have a lot of other stuff going on, so I can never hardly keep up. And so I decided that I wanted to do a panel podcast. And if you watched my show, season one, I think episode 7, I had a panel with 3 of my friends on there, Valerie, Crystal, and Avery Justin Simmons. And I liked it so much. I was like, I want to do this regularly with 2 to 3 people on here with me and just make a show out of that. So I talked to my friend who was on season 1, episodes either 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, Karen and Leslie. And I was like, hey, Carolyn, I really want you to have a podcast. Do you want to have your own, which is my choice, or do you want to have a panel podcast? If you know Carolyn, she said a panel podcast. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll bring you on mine. You'll be one of my panelist people, my co-hosts. Time went on, and I was like, I don't know. I don't really have time for one podcast. How will I have time for 2? And so we were out to lunch with our friend Pam Norris, and I was like, this was a joke. I said, Pam, I'm making Carolyn her own podcast, and we need some co-hosts. Do you want to be one of the co-hosts? Now, if you know Pam, she said, and it was a joke. But then she was like, well, why don't you ask Almeda, who is a friend of ours, Almeda Johnson? And I was like, Pam, that's such a good idea. I'm so upset that I didn't come up with it myself. Now, you don't know Pam because she will be a new face to the podcast network. But Almeda, you know her from being on Chantel's last season with her, my grandmother,
Where are the mothers?
Alicia Thomas, Dr. Alicia. And so, I'll meet his face. And so I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. I'll ask Almeda. So Pam ended up texting me back like 2 days later, late at night. She was like, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm in. And I was like, dang, that was just a joke, but cool. So now we got Carolyn and we have Pam. I have to call Almeda. I called Almeda and I expected her to say something along the lines of, give me some time to think about it. Give me some time to pray. Y'all know how to do. And so she immediately, before I even got done pitching the idea, she was like, I'm in and I know the name of the show. And I was like, what's the name of the show? Because I had a name, but it was taken. And so I was like, God, I don't know what this name going to be. One of them going to have to come up with it because I had one idea and I was done. And she was like, it's CPA time. C, Carolyn, P, Pam, A, Almeda. It's CPA time. And so pretty soon we will be premiering my
Yay!
It's CPA time. Ooh, and I do have that logo on here too. And I'm super excited about it. Right up there. I'm super excited about it because they are literally so dynamic. We've already recorded a few episodes and
Yeah.
it's just amazing. This is my dream podcast. It's my dream podcast because it's what I wanted for myself. And I just didn't have time to do it. And I was like, so if I can't do it, I'll create it for somebody else. And so this is literally, I'm not showing favoritism, but it is what I wanted for myself. And I'm glad to see it for somebody else. Before she says what she has to say, I just want to show you the opening. Give me a moment. Hopefully this-
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. We want to
Hey.
welcome you to.
That's it. So that's all I'm going to show you. So they are ready. They have their outfits. They wear the same color clothes. They're fancy. They be like, we want you to change the logo color as we change color shirts. We want the logo to match our shirts. Pam told me a few weeks ago that she needs a budget. I was like, woman of God, so do I. Almeda was like, I want to be on a billboard. I said, woman of God, so do I. So they're really.
So do I.
I just The thing that I love about this group is that they literally, especially Almeda. So I'm one who I think big, but I rarely share my ideas because most people really aren't able to handle them. Whenever I share an idea, people just sit there and look at me or just say, okay. And that's been like my whole life. And so I've always had to do stuff by myself, figure things out for myself, by myself, figure things out for others because y'all don't be want to do nothing that wouldn't shade to you, Chantel. Um, because people don't really want to do nothing. They think I know everything. This
But
group,
you
especially
talking
our
about
media,
me for
they
real.
come in and literally say, "No,
Thinking
this
game.
while I'm talking about this." Has really come in and said everything that I saw for the podcast. Almeda has come in and said, "Have you thought about this? What do you think about this? Can we do this?" And it's literally every single thing that I have said over the past year that I wanted for the podcast network. That's why I like them so much because I don't have that in my life. Um, so I'm very, very grateful for this new opportunity. Oh, and my podcast is ending. We've already recorded our last episode. We've already released our last episode. Did not make it through season 3 because I was like, I'm done with that part because I think I do better producing and creating podcasts than I do actually sitting there and being a host. I love being a host. So hopefully, Chantel has me back again sometime. Hopefully, it's CPA time decides to bring me on as a guest, and other people have already said, "Well, we want to have you on as a guest. Don't just say it, because I don't have nowhere to go and talk anymore." So, yep,
Look, you will always have a home here on the Awakening as a co-host. You will always, and I'm so grateful. I'm so happy for CPA. Yes, because they are my favorite. If y'all know it or not, I love those group of women. I love them. I feel like I have. They have also poured so much in my life outside of the awakening, just period. So I can't wait to see it. I can't. I hadn't seen nothing. That was a little clip for me too, because I hadn't seen nothing. But I am so happy for them, and we're gonna congratulate and pray and push them on as well. And so, with that being said, Reggie, we're gonna really miss you, but I'm gonna have you on all the time. You know how I am with my subjects, especially when I
You
want
know,
to argue. Who to get when you want to argue with somebody? Reggie, because he
because
gonna come for you. And you see how he was coming today, and I feel
when I
like he was shooting.
when I can't argue with people on the phone, y'all, this is the honest to God truth. He's gonna have to deliver me. I get on TikTok. I get on
I
TikTok.
promise.
I just argue. I've been arguing on this one video. So when people ask me what I do, like I think of the most mundane things for some reason. Like literally, if the President Biden, called me today and was like, "Hey, we really wanted you to come to the White House. Um, like the helicopter's outside right now for you to just come on over here." And I go to the White House and I come back home tonight and somebody calls me tomorrow and be like, "So what did you do yesterday?" Argue with people on TikTok, because that's the joy that's what gives me joy, is arguing with people on TikTok. I would sit there and you think I
TikTok
did y'all
joy.
take the shoes.
TikTok.
And I don't I keep my picture up there. I don't have a private profile, and my Instagram is linked to my TikTok. So in case I ain't one of those that like hide behind the keyboard or nothing. I want you to come find me. Pray for me.
Look at that. Mm-mm-mm. We're gonna pray hard. Thank you for tuning in to the Awakening. We will see you next time. And don't forget, you can subscribe all podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and more. Don't forget, you can also watch it on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Bye.